Hello, Honors World Literature. It is I, Coach Hall, back and better than ever after staying up way too late last night to watch the NFL draft because, let's be honest, there's pretty much zero sports on right now. So the fact that they had the NFL draft last night was pretty exciting, but it also went on entirely too long. But because I really enjoyed it, I stayed up way too late, and so here I am this morning. Well, yeah, this morning. This morning, as I film this, it probably won't be posted until afternoon, but I don't know. Who knows? With you for A Thousand Spinning Suns, chapter 40. It's Friday. I'm tired. I'm just gonna do one chapter today. We'll push 41 and 42 discussion to next week. But I'm going to talk to you today about chapter 40. 40 is a good chapter because we learn a little bit more about what life is like under Taliban rule with 5 family members. It's fall 1999. That means it is birthday number 40 for Mariam. And that means Lila has now turned 21, which is interesting because that means Lila has been married to Rashid now for, I think, almost 7 years. And, Mariam has been with Rashid for, 25 years? So, weird to think about the passing of time through this book. We started with Mariam's birth. Really, the book started 40 years ago, if you count her birth. As far as that narrative with Nana at the beginning of the book, we start the chapter out by digging a hole. It's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be you're not really sure what the hole is for. They're digging a hole, and honestly, you're hopeful that they're digging a hole for Rashid. You're nervous that they're digging a hole for Aziza or Zalmai. But it turns out they're digging this hole for the television. Television, as you know, is banned under Taliban rule. They're not supposed to have TVs. But, people are corrupt. It's almost like the Wild West out there in Afghanistan right now, meaning if you really want something and you have the money, you could probably get it. Kind of like black market stuff, underground market. And anyway, they've acquired this television set. Zalmai is 2. The TV is mostly for him because Zalmai, the little boy, he's 2 years old, gets basically whatever he wants. He's spoiled. He can do no wrong. There are times when he is even chewing on Rashid's cigarettes, and Rashid calls that a sign of intelligence. Yes. Oh, yes. Wicked little boys, that just means they're smart. And that's probably something Rashid heard when he was little because, like father, like son, as the saying goes, Rashid is kind of a piece of work, as we know. And Zalmai is kind of that way too. However, I will say this about Zalmai. I like Zalmai's character. Zalmai, I feel like the author develops him pretty well. He's only 2 here. We cannot treat him as a bad guy too, just because he's Rashid's son. Remember, he's also half Lila, and he's a quarter Bobby. So he's got some good genes in him as well, and also he's a little 2-year-old boy, terrible twos. So they're gonna be, they're gonna be rambunctious. They're gonna be at times disobedient and difficult to deal with. But he's just a little kid. And there's a lot of innocence there in Zalmai. It's just that Rashid doesn't help matters in regards to making sure that Zalmai has a decent upbringing or a responsible upbringing. Zalmai loves his father, and that's important we understand that now because that comes back up again later. Zalmai loves his dad. He goes with him to the shoe shop, and Rashid carries him on his shoulders. Remember, this is really what Rashid wanted, was a boy. Not just because his own son had died, but because boys are just have it easier, especially under Taliban rule. I mean, boys just have it. Boys are thought of as better than girls. And a lot of people in Afghanistan to this day believe that. So Rashid, of course, believes this. So they have, this is Zalmai's TV. Aziza, you are not allowed to play with it. Aziza is treated poorly. Aziza is very likely sustaining, if not mental abuse, some physical abuse here by Rashid. Just, he treats her no better than he treats Mariam or Lila. I like Mariam in this chapter. Mariam is kind of settling into her grandmotherly role with Aziza. She teaches her the same prayers that she learned. Remember, Mariam was not educated. Mariam has not seen the inside of a classroom. Mariam never went to school. The only education she received was the school of hard knocks from her mom, Nana, and the prayers and the teaching of the Quran and scripture from Mullah Fazula. And if you think about her living in that little shack when she was little, to growing up isolated until she was 15, and then, living a couple of weeks with her dad in a bad situation after her mom committed suicide, and then she gets married off to Rashid. We can count on one hand the possessions, the real items that Mariam has to pass down to Lila or pass down to Aziza. She has these prayers, though, and I like this. She does have these prayers that Mullah Fazula taught her, and she goes through this process with Aziza in a very grandmotherly kind of way. Like, that's all I have to give her. This knowledge, these things I learned when I was a little girl. I have nothing, so I need to be able to do this for her, and it's kind of a cool little part. That's right there on page 298. Times are hard. We're in a drought here. It's the second year of the drought. So the Taliban is in control of a dying economy. All the while, the economy is not being helped at all in Afghanistan because there's not a lot of trade in regards to food and water. So people aren't spending money on shoes. So Rashid still has his shoe store at this point, although in chapter 41, the next chapter, he's going to lose that. We'll talk about that a little bit. But they need money, and Rashid even suggests, hey, Aziza, we need to put Aziza on a street corner as a beggar. She's a cute little girl. People will give her money. And Lila's like, no, I'm not going to send my kid out by herself to stand on a street corner where anything could happen to her, by the way. Taliban could get her. Some creepy weirdo could get her. You're sending a 6-year-old here? I don't know if that exactly matches up, but basically a little kid to sit out on the street corner by herself. And Rashid says he'll keep an eye on her. No, he's not going to keep an eye on her. And so Lila is like, no, okay, which is big deal because she's standing up to Rashid here. Lila has way more guts than Mariam ever had. And she's standing up to Rashid here. In fact, it even gets to the point where it gets physical, and she, pretty cool part of the book, she punches Rashid over this. She's so willing to fight for her daughter that she is willing to punch Rashid. And everyone is kind of like, oh my God. The same way you would react if someone in your household punched someone else. Oh gosh, wow, I can't believe that just happened. And Rashid walks out calmly. And then he comes back with his gun. Again, remember, I told you the gun was going to show back up. We have this, and this isn't the last time, I don't think, but this gun that he has appeared a couple of times. In this chapter, we see it as he puts the muzzle of the gun in Lila's mouth. I've never had that happen to me before, but I would like to think that you get pretty quiet, you get pretty still, and you get pretty obedient. But it seems that the Lila begging on the street corner thing is at least squelched for now. That's why they're burying the TV, or these raids here at the end of the chapter. The Taliban have begun, probably out of desperation, probably out of being drunk with power, probably a little bit of both. They've begun doing raids into people's houses. And man, if Taliban kicks down your door and says, "Hey, walk me through your house. What do you have here? What do you have?" And you have alcohol, you have books, you have music, you have a television, you have tapes, movies, anything like that. It could mean your house. And it could mean, to an extent, depending on the severity, it could mean your life. And man, because Rashid wants to get Zalmai a television, they're going to risk their livelihood over that. So, of course, they agree we don't know where Rashid is in this. He probably isn't around enough to care. But Mariam and Lila dig the hole and they bury the TV in the hole. And then, hey, after a few months, maybe we can dig it back up. That's kind of the agreement that they make. But they bury the TV so that the Taliban never find it. Interesting symbolism is... Sorry, I usually have that closed out. Interesting symbolism here is Lila's dream. This time... Man, I thought I lost the camera there for a second. This time, Lila dreams that it's Aziza being lowered into the hole, her daughter. And we think about the street corner fight that she had with Rashid. But, man, we also think about symbolic here. It is maybe even prophetic, a prophecy, okay, is that I think Lila is at least subconsciously and now maybe even consciously coming to the realization that her daughter Aziza is in danger because Rashid knows it's not his kid. Okay, it's another mouth to feed. He can easily replace this child now that he has Zalmai. Okay, so Rashid can figure out how to feed 2 wives and 1 kid. He's done that for many years, or for a few years now. But feeding 2 wives and 2 kids, we talked yesterday about how that's a lot of people in one household with the Taliban, where money isn't very good. And Aziza now, and we'll see that this is definitely a sign of things to come, is potentially in danger in regards to her livelihood. Now that Aziza is a bargaining chip for Rashid, that's not something that just goes away. That's not something that, oh, she punched me in the head, I got angry and put a gun in her face, this issue is over. That's not really how it works. So we'll see in the coming chapters how this is going to go. But we're still, I think next chapter is the year, summer of 2000. So we still have about almost 2 years, about a year and a half left of Taliban rule. So the Taliban, they're not going anywhere just yet. Taliban are going to hang around for a little bit longer, which means these folks here, Rashid, Mariam, Lila, Aziza, and Zalmai, they got to figure out how to survive. They got to figure out a way to survive, literally, like how to not die. And desperate times and desperate measures, and it's a weird time. So anyway, it's kind of a tough chapter to read, but I really liked it. I liked the television Aziza symbolism. I love that Lila is standing up to Rashid here, even though that didn't really work out well for her. And I love the Mariam connection to Aziza and her, hey, is the one thing I could do for her is teaching her these prayers. I thought that was pretty cool. So anyway, that's all for today. Have a good weekend. It's Friday. Take a little break. Take a little time for yourself. And I'll see you back here on Monday with chapters 41 and 42, which incidentally are the last 2 chapters for this week's reading. We'll kick it into high gear with 43, 44, 45 during the first half of next week. I believe the book is 52 chapters. It's either 51 or 52. So we're going to finish probably Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, the first half of not next week, but the week after that. I think the first full week of May. Does that sound right? Yeah. We're probably going to finish this on about the 4th or 5th, and then we'll kind of figure out what we want to do from there for our last unit for the end of school. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good weekend. Get your work in, and I will talk to you guys on Monday. See you soon. Oh, and also I want to point out, I did Assalamu Alaikum at the end of the video yesterday, which is a Muslim phrase. And I learned that today, I think, I could be totally wrong on this, but I think today is the start of Ramadan, Muslim holiday, or a Muslim religious time frame. And I thought that was really cool. You know, maybe we're kind of reaching the important part of this book, the important parts coming up in this book at just the right time, a holy time of year for the Muslim faithful. So anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. So assalamu alaikum to you, and I hope you have a good weekend. See you.